Welcome to Thinking Deeply About Primary Education, the podcast that makes time and space to think about pedagogy, teaching and learning, professional development, anything of interest to time-poor but enthusiasm-rich primary teachers. This week, I'm joined by Anna Hackett. Hi, Anna. How are you?
Hi, Kieran. I'm good, thanks.
It's great to have you here, Anna. Now, obviously, on March 29th, TDaPE, the TDaPE Conference is coming to Manchester, and that is in no small part thanks to your vision, because you said, we want to host it at Focus Trust. You know, we want you to come up north. You can't just be spending all your time in London and the southeast. So we're going to visit one of your schools.
Yeah, it's going to be at Old Trafford, so central Manchester. One of our amazing schools. So it's quite a challenging area. We've done a lot of work there recently on developing our curriculum, and we're really looking forward to people visiting. So it's going to be a really positive day, and I'm glad you're doing a northern version of TDaPE.
I mean, things have certainly been challenging in Old Trafford football-wise for the last couple of years, haven't they? So the area needs a positive event.
Yeah, I've been told to avoid talking about football, though, so it wins me no favours, whatever I say.
That's great. I mean, whenever I booked the Premier in Old Trafford, and they said there's some of the rooms have an event view.
All right.
Is that like, do I get to see the stadium? Can you see into the stadium? No.
I come from a family though of hardcore Liverpool fans, so I'm not allowed to talk about it in the house.
Oh my goodness! So we're going to talk about the event. We're going to talk about what fantastic speakers we have lined up and what a journey through the day might look like. And so I thought we'd go room by room. I think last time me and Elliot went, it's almost like session by session, but I think that I want to test out this and see what it feels like, and just sort of getting your take on the different options, because I think we're so very, very lucky to have so many really inspirational people volunteer their time to help us raise money for, on this occasion, Crohn's and Colitis UK. And so I think celebrating the fact that they're coming and sort of advertising that, I think will hopefully help, because by the time this episode goes out, there's maybe just under 2 weeks until ticket sales close on the 22nd. And then on the 29th, we've actually got the event. So we'll start with room one. And first up, we've got Shannon Doherty, Getting Teacher Development Right. Then we've got Alex Gingle, Exploring Whole Staff Rehearsal, which is a session that went down extremely well at TDaPE London. Then we've got the nefarious Neil Almond, talking about improving handwriting and his low-hanging fruit. Session 4, Sarah Cottinghat and Adam Colbeck. We're going to explore coaching, again, another really good one. And then really pleased that Dave Taylor, friend of the show and ex-colleague of mine, is going to be exploring backward beating. Where do you think you would go? Which of those stand out to you from a sort of delegate sort of perspective?
Again, really strong start, so I appreciate that. I think given the role that I do, and I work across various different schools, I think the looking at Shannon and teacher development is really crucial. I think at the minute our CPD time is really limited, so how we approach that, we've got to think really in a sort of granular way, and consider our approach. I'm interested to see what she'd be saying. I went to Neil's session on handwriting at a research ed event, and it was incredibly useful. It was so useful. And I've shared some of that with our English leaders. So I think if that's something that, even though I've already seen it, I think it will be really useful to people. Handwriting is coming up as one of those areas that people want to unpick a bit more. And I feel like Neil's really delved into the research there, but then he brings it back so it's accessible for you. So yeah, they'd be my two that sort of stand out from there. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. The one thing Neil doesn't do is he doesn't stick to time. So expect to be late if you go to that session. It's the general rule.
You didn't have that beautiful blue suit on as well that was in his picture. I was
Oh no,
expecting.
it's burgundy, isn't it? It's like a red wine
Oh,
color
is
too,
it
isn't it? Yeah.
burgundy?
I mean, I've seen Dave speak about backward fading. Now, it's been a while since the last time I saw him speak on it, and it's fantastic because if you're thinking about how you set up your sort of tasks and the sort of the way that you sort of share information and the way you demonstrate, the way you explain, I think there's a lot to learn there. Like I say, Alex talking about the sort of the place of whole staff rehearsal. People were buzzing about it last time. So I think if you're interested in coaching or sort of CPD from that angle, I think that can be really, really useful. And then, Sir Cotting Hat is almost like taking the world by storm, and Adam, I'm just as impressed by his contribution. I saw a bit of their session at TDaPE London, and I don't know if I think they're going to be refining it from then, but actually it was really interactive. So you've got two coaching options in room one: handwriting, teacher development, and backward fading. So I think you're not going to go wrong with room one, but the other rooms have almost like a more, what would you say, almost like themes to them. So this is
Yeah.
this is so the theme isn't as strong across room one, but when we go to room two, you'll notice that it's all mathematics. And one thing I'm really pleased is that I always manage to get an all mathematics room. And I don't get that for all the subjects. So if I sort of outline
Yeah.
briefly, and then we'll go again. Amy Howe, session one in room two, the 100 bead rec and rec. Oh my goodness. Joe Austin, forward facing maths. So basically what we teach now should really help whenever we're teaching things later on. Tom Oakley, improving progress in primary mathematics. I think that's going to be popular. Jess Rennie is going to be talking about maths fluency. And so I think I've potentially seen part of her talk, or when she talks about literacy with Andrew Percival. I think that I'm remembering an online version of their research ed talk, but I can't really remember 100%. And then we got Kate Fern talking about times tables. Where are you going to go? What do you think?
I feel like I'm spoiled for choice with this one because although it is under that theme, which I really, really like, with it all being connected through maths, it's almost looking at maths from a different lens, each of them, but so useful. And it's kind of reflective of where we're up to as in education. I feel like we're on different elements of each subject. I am avoiding choosing one now, but I like the idea of both the forward-facing maths and improving progress in primary mathematics, because I think it's almost like considering that whole journey of a child as a mathematician, and we're not just tackling things as like, I'm a year four teacher, so I'm just going to look at year four content. We're actually thinking about the progression within that subject. But I also do like the sound of Jess Rennie as well, because I saw her talk with Andrew Percival on writing and the granular approach to writing. I'd be really interested to see what it was like in maths. I've clearly not made a decision.
No.
No, I need to decide on the day, I
I mean,
think.
you could very easily spend all day in that room. I mean, you could spend all day in most of these rooms, if not all of
Yeah.
them. But yes, I mean, I haven't seen Tom's talk on improving progress in primary mathematics. So if I get a chance, like I say, I normally float and sort of put out any fires and stuff like that there during the day and sort of meld into the background. But yeah, at a push, I reckon that if I had to choose, I'd choose that. But again, the 100 bead rack and rack, I don't think I've seen Amy. I've seen Amy do it with sort of standard operations and the 20 bead rack and rack. But beyond that, I think it'd be really interesting. So, if maths is your thing, you can just rock up to room two at the very start of the day, and then order coffee in every 40 minutes or so. I think you're sorted.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really, they'll get so much out of that day, that room, definitely.
Do you think your maths leads will go to the maths
Yeah,
room? You think so? Because
I
you guys are
think
bringing lots of
so.
teachers, aren't you?
A lot of the maths leads, these are some of the things that we've been talking about. So like even like your times tables, that's again coming up as almost like an area we really need to hone in on. So it's like a beautiful maths pick and mix, this. Don't know what to choose.
Room 3, then I think in the main has got like a broader curricular focus, but not 100%. So we've got up first, session 1, room 3. We've got Hannah Gillett and Dominic Bristow. They're going to be talking about feedback using or utilizing artificial intelligence, which is again a talk that they delivered during TDaPE London and went down really well. Then we got Charles Bankovitz exploring modern foreign languages and sort of some of the reasons why we're maybe not that great at it. Not to be insulting, but I think the generalization is that we're not. And so if anyone's interested in developing that in their school, I think go and see Charles, because he's got lots of practical sort of options and a real deep dive into sort of the things we might be able to do. Alex Furlam's going to be talking about sort of a history case study and continuity from Key Stage 2, I think, to Key Stage 3, and sort of closing that gap. Yana Lee Stevens coming all the way from Spain, all the way from Murcia, to explore teacher development. And then Alex Neofitu is going to be exploring curriculum concepts. And I'll just get the exact thing because I've sort of generalized some of these titles. But it's going to be golden threads, developing an understanding of concepts across the curriculum of concepts. So sounds really, really interesting.
I think that one, the curriculum concepts one, Alex Neofito's, is the way that he is looking. So I've seen some of his work. He's looking at how we can use concepts to almost develop that progression within our curriculum, and how we have that almost that golden thread running through. But he comes at it from like a subject specific angle. So to me, it'll be really useful to almost listen to his thinking and how he's unpicked those. But then I know that MFL is almost that unknown like entity, isn't it? That I feel like sometimes we don't, like you said, we don't do it the justice it deserves, and perhaps we could get so much more out of it if we understood its structure. So again, difficult choice. And I think the feedback with AI, that's something that I'd be really interested, because I've not really explored anything like that. So I'd be interested to see what almost they were starting with on AI. Just again, really, really useful. I think these will be really useful sessions for teachers.
Have you listened to Hannah and Dominic's episode on the podcast? Because they were talking about a similar theme, not the content of their talk, but they were talking about. Did you catch that just before Christmas? I think
yeah. And I think like the way that, again, like seeing their session, that'd help us think, right, how could we have a little dabble in this? How could we try it? Because we've seen quite a bit about AI, but it's making it work for us. So yeah, that again, really, really good sessions. I've not seen anything from Alex Fairlam either, but I heard positive things. So she'd be one that I'd almost want to go and have a look at, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, like Hannah, Dominic, Charles, Alex, they've all been on the podcast before, so I'm big fans of their work. And so perhaps I'll go and see Yanli or Alex, because and obviously it doesn't. The way I'm reading this, it doesn't really work like that, because it's the horizontal sessions. But for the interest of if we look at it in a room by room, sort of realizing halfway through that this doesn't really work as a format. So
no, it does work.
Yeah.
I like it. It does work, because you're having to go through and think, right, which one would I be able to go and see? It's helping.
Yeah, we should have done it workshop by workshop. But I'll every day at school there.
No, it's okay. I think it's fine.
For all of you Kofi, Ko-Fi, Kofufu, however you pronounce it, you damn lovely supporters. It's a song going out to you, to you. Okay, here we go. Nikki, Anna P, Seb D, Stephanie Taylor, Mrs. B, Taya, Adam, Katie, Liv Dempsey, Becca, Jenford, Susie Brown, andCio, Netchio, Rachel, I am Al, Jessica, Tom Oakley, Tom Brassington, Jessica, Tom Oakley, Tom Brassington, LJ, and last but not least, my lovely little Amy Bill. So they help us pay the bills. So a massive thank you out to TDaPE family. Coffee supporters help us keeping it ad-free. There's far more content coming just round the bend. Thank you all for helping our very special friends. Very special friends.
Room 4
Yeah.
kicks off with Adam Smith talking about the Norwich Writing Project, improving Key Stage 2 writing across a whole city, which I'm thinking might be something of interest, because the Focus Trust runs across a whole city, perhaps a couple of cities. So basically, multi-academy trusts are like cities themselves, aren't they?
Yeah.
Schools. So might be of interest. Sounds right. We'll have a speaker, talking about phonics, literacy. Last time it was Leila Sadler talking, and it was sound to print, I think, off the top of my head. And a really, really good session, really well received. Deirdre O'Toole coming over all the way from Ireland, and she's going to be talking. I mean, I don't want to do this an injustice, so I will read. I mean, I've got word of mouth, but that was just like almost like the subtitle for Dee's session. So it's the role of articulatory gestures and mouth photographs in early literacy instruction. And so she's going to be talking about a very specific part of literacy. Perhaps her own research that she's been involved in, and the research of others. Like even in her session description, she's got like Seidenberg and Hart Paulson and Lieberman and stuff. And lots of, it looks really, really interesting. It's not something that's on my radar, but literacy has always been, certainly very recently, the element that I'm not engaged with as well as others, because I sort of leave that to Chris and Neil, and then they can fill the gaps in. So Dee's going to be talking about the role of articulatory gestures. Donnie Morrison is going to be exploring poetry. And then Clive Davies, who is a friend of Focus Trust, I think, is going to be exploring the role of talk. And his session is called Focus on Talk and how to improve children's oracy presentation skills. So from those, what stands out to you?
I think, again, some of these will be really, really useful in terms of like literacy focus and literacy in that communication and language. So we're seeing like a lot of schools facing sort of those challenges around communication and language. And I think the way that you described Deirdre's session, that would be really, really useful, because it's almost that's the development of sounds and really narrowing in the thinking, actually, how do we form those sounds? So if she's done a piece of work and again is bringing it to us, I think that would be really useful. Again, like you said, Adam Smith, his work improving key stage 2 literacy writing across a whole city. Wow, I'd like to see that. That's impressive. And just how you would approach that. Clive Davies, obviously, he is associated with our trust, and he's doing a PhD at the moment on talk, and he's exploring the role of talk and accents as well. So I think that would be really useful. I'm just listing them all because literacy and English is in my heart. And poetry, I think that poetry is something that actually people underestimate how much you can get out of poetry. So I'd be really interested to see them all. I might just sit in that room for the day.
Yes, I didn't mention that was the literacy, but it's pretty clear that's the literacy room.
Yeah.
Broad stroke literacy, but all sort of like feeding in, particularly, I think, where people are struggling, because I've definitely heard people talking about this almost like the increased challenge of pupils' sort of social and communication skills. I don't want to say whether or not that's post-pandemic or not, because, we could ascribe everything to the pandemic, but really, things weren't great beforehand. But anything that can be done to help those pupils who struggle to communicate, who struggle to engage with sort of the English language, definitely. So, I mean, if you go, Adam's always a great speaker. So, if you do choose that one, you'll really enjoy it. But I think, hard pressed to find a session that you wouldn't want to go to in room 4. So room 5 is almost like the Cog-Sci pedagogy room. And we've got Adam Woodward talking about knowledge organizers, Katie Marl talking about AI practical tools to support teachers. Emma Lurie and Ellen Parker are going to be exploring continuous provision in Key Stage 1, so beyond the early years and sort of the work they've been doing in their schools. Jen Sutherland returns with effective targeted questioning. So she's got the best title of all workshops. Was it like get rid of the lollipop sticks? I can't remember exactly the exact phrasing. But a step away from the lollipop sticks, effective targeted questioning in the primary classroom. So, that's speaking my language. And then Ella Martin from TSATs down in the sort of southeast, but they've got schools across the country, can be exploring retrieval practice, which, even though in our bubble we think everyone knows about retrieval practice, we know it's not the case. So that's almost like your first introduction to cognitive science. So what stands out there for you? And you can't just list them all. You got to say, tell me which ones really stand out.
Okay, I'm going to go straight in here. Continuous provision in Key Stage 1. I think that is going to be so useful. I think it's almost a bit of the unexplored. A lot of the schools that I work in at the minute, we're finding, like we said earlier, that children developmentally aren't at a certain stage, but how are we adapting our practice so that we're meeting their needs, and so that almost people are throw this statement around like readiness. So Key Stage 1 ready. Are they ready for Key Stage 1? Are they ready for Year 1? But actually, are we ready? Are we ready in our practice? Are we ready? Are we prepared? Are we informed as to what the appropriate provision is for those children? Because you can't just pick up early years and put it in Key Stage 1. It doesn't work like that. So I'd be really interested to see what they say and how their take on it, I think. And that's something that I'm going to be signposting some of our staff to if they're attending.
Nice.
I'm so excited for that one, straight in.
Yeah, I mean, my last school, we had continuous provision up until the Christmas of Year 1, but never really further than that. So so I think that's an interesting thing to explore. But again, if you're interested in cognitive science, you're interested in task design and questioning, I think that room 5 has got you well covered. And then room 6, we've got 3 sessions in room 6, so session 1, 2, and 3. Camilla Spur talking about metacognition, which is obviously on the front of everyone's minds at the moment. Rory File is going to be talking about leadership, and in particular, I don't want to get this wrong, preparing learners for a world of multi-literacies, which sounds intriguing. And then Chris Passy and Adam Colback are going to be exploring leadership, and in particular, harnessing vulnerability for great leadership, which I thought was really interesting, because sometimes when we see leadership online, outside of education, that vulnerability isn't necessarily one of the things that gets promoted, is it? It's often quite the opposite. You have to be solid as a rock all the time, which we know is impossible. And they say, how can we as leaders bring together our own isolated moments of error through evidence-informed self-reflection and view them as connected moments through the lens of vulnerability? I think that's a really provocative and interesting question. But if you had to choose somewhere from room 6, where would you go?
I think I would go to Chris and Adam's session on leadership and vulnerability. Again, it is that it's almost looking at things not just as a whole, so leadership as a whole role, and actually breaking it right down and thinking, how can I connect with other people in my role, and how can I stay true to myself, but still maintain that leadership. And actually, there's so much power in vulnerability and being you. So I think the work they've been doing some work as well with Sarah Cottingham on various things. So I think just how they're thinking at the minute is really inspiring. So I think definitely want to check out that session. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I could go to all three. I think, like I say, the multi-literacies is something I've not really come across before, so I'll be really interested to find out more. And then metacognition is something that I think lots of primary schools talk about it, but what does it actually look in practice? So people like Nathan Burns talking about it, Camilla talking about it. I'd be really interested to see what that looks like in practice. Now, we've been through as many sessions as possible. I always feel really bad when we do this. Well, I felt bad the last time we did this because you want to give everybody the same amount of airtime, but I can't stress enough how absolutely fantastic it is to have everybody who's speaking. I could spend 20 minutes easily talking about each session. And the idea is that we sort of go through this. So if anyone is speaking and listening and thinking didn't get much airtime, that's all my fault, and it definitely wasn't on purpose. But I'm going to share my screen with you because now I would like you to choose your path through TDaPE Manchester. As you can see now, rooms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. You can see session 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
Where are you going? So session 1.
Oh, this is like TDaPE blockbusters. Right. Okay. Session 1. I am going to Shannon's session.
Now, I suppose people should keep in mind that you are leading teaching and learning across a large number of schools, and that will heavily influence your decision making.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got Shannon in session 1. What about session 2?
I am going to Jess Rennie, math fluency.
Well, she's in session 4, so I don't think you're going there. You're in session 2.
Sorry.
See, I've confused you by going down the list.
Yeah, confused. Like, hang on a second. I would go for, I think, Charles with MFL. I think that would be really, really interesting. I'm picking that.
Nice one. So what about 3?
Ooh, yeah, Chris and Adam, leadership.
4?
Oh, no. Oh, this is a hard game because of continuous provision. You've done this on purpose. I'm going with continuous provision in Key Stage 1.
Continuous provision. Sorry, Chris and Adam. But that's a very specific sort of interest. So, can't be held against you. What about session 4? So you're getting towards lunchtime. You're thinking, okay.
I am going to go. I've already seen Sarah Cottingham on coaching. So I'm going to go with Jess Rennie, math fluency.
Jess in session 4. And then to finish off your day, last session, just before lunch, where are you going?
I am going to go with Alex Neofito, curriculum concepts.
Oh, yes, and the golden threads. So you've got Shannon in teacher development.
Yep.
Then you're going for Charles and MFL.
Yep.
Emma and Ellen, continuous provision. Jess, maths fluency, and then finishing off with Alex and the golden threads through the curriculum. So that's Anna's pathway. If anyone does the exact same pathway as you on the day, I think they should take pictures at each stop with you so they can see you and we should put it on social media. I'm thinking, do I ask the other regulars to choose their pathway?
I think you should do. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could, on a million different Saturdays, you're going to choose a million different routes through this, so it's really, really tough, but just for a bit of fun. I thought we'd explore that. Because the thing is, there are no wrong answers here. There's no way you can choose a session that's not going to be worth your time, even if it's not something you're directly sort of involved in. How you connect the things you learn on these Saturday conferences is based on what you know already and what your experience is already. And sometimes I'll be in a session that's totally irrelevant to what I'm thinking about, but then I think, oh, if I use that and this, then that makes it, this makes sense. And you start putting those pieces together. So with a week to go, for ticket sales anyway, 2 weeks until the conference, 1 week until the tickets stop because I got to put the food order in on the 22nd or just after the 22nd. And so what I'll do is I'll release the schedule on Saturday as well. And so if anyone listening at home and thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait for TDaPE Manchester, share your route through the schedule. Where are you going to go to? You could draw those, when you're writing on your phone and you draw those little squiggly lines, do one of those lines through the map and we'll see what people come up with. And if you haven't got a ticket and you live in the Manchester/Greater Manchester/Oldham or Stockport or anything close by area, the question is, why haven't you got your tickets yet? Because you've got a week to do so. So looking forward to seeing everyone there. Anna, all that's left to do is say thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And everyone at home, until next time, thanks for listening.